Lady Cougar basketball squad was eliminated from the Peach Belt Conference tournament against USC Aiken in the quarterfinal round. Now they've lost 6 players, they've added 8 more, and it's some fresh faces that get set to take the floor here in Columbus, Georgia for the 2013-2014 regular season home opener. Hello everyone and welcome inside the Lumpkin Center on the campus of Columbus State University. Stephen Williams here with you on Cougar Sports TV as we get set for Lady Cougar basketball. Jonathan Norton's squad set to kick off its 2013-2014 regular season as they welcome in the Lady Wildcats of Fort Valley State University. Out of Fort Valley, Georgia, the Lady Wildcats 0-2 on the season. 2 very tightly contested games in the SIAC Sunshine State Challenge earlier this season. The 0-2, though, as they walk in here today. The 11th all-time meeting between these two as we get set to kick off the 2013-2014 season. We caught up with head coach Jonathan Norton just a few minutes prior to the game, and let's let you hear what the coach had to say. Lady Cougar head coach Jonathan Norton with us as we get set for the season opener. Coach, 1 month from today, you kicked off practice. Has it been a fast month, or has it been one that's kind of crawled along?
Too fast. Somebody asked me yesterday, you ready for the first game? I said no. I'd like another month of practice. You know, we got so many young players. We're still trying to figure out a lot of things, just some of your basic fundamentals, different principles on the defensive end, especially different terminology. And so I'd like a little more practice time, but it's here, and I know the players are excited because it's nice to beat on somebody else beside yourselves every day.
Let's start with the makeup of this team. You've got 4 players that played time last year for you, 1 that played a couple of years ago, and then 1 that spent time as a redshirt. Let's start there with your players that are coming back.
Yeah, we have a good nucleus of returning players. It starts with Aisha Alexander, who's a 4-year starter at the 3. Chantel Bradford started the last couple of years, and she's a 4 player. We had to play her at the 5 last year, but now she's back to her natural position. Tay Smith was a part-time starter last year. She's a senior. She was a junior college transfer last year. She'll start at the 2. And then we get Carrie Washington back. She played her freshman and sophomore year, sat out last year, and she's back. She's our starting 5. Now we'll come off the bench with Kristen Kennebrew. Will be one of our first guards off the bench. She redshirted last year, but she's here. She knows the system and had a great first month of practice. And Kayla Richards, who was a part-time starter as a freshman last year, will float between the 3 and the 4, and she'll see significant minutes as well. So we have a good group of returning players, good leadership. They know what's going on. Now we're just trying to bridge the gap between them and those 7 freshmen.
7 freshmen and a sophomore, 8 newcomers that you've got to incorporate into this year. The one key thing you look at, though, there's some that have quite a bit of height.
Yeah, absolutely. Obviously, if you saw us play last year, we were tiny. I mean, we didn't have a player 6 foot tall or taller. So we remedied that with recruiting. It helps when your assistant's 6'5", but so she can go out and recruit players. I said, don't bring anybody back unless they can come close to looking you in the eye. And she did that. So we've done that, but they are young and inexperienced. So, but we like what we have. We'll bring a freshman off the bench at the 5. We'll bring a freshman off the bench at the 4. We'll start a freshman at point, but most of our size is young.
Let's start with some of those that are going to make an impact right away. Introduce us to those players that we'll see the most starting with tonight.
Well, we'll start with Brittany Tatum, a fairly local girl from LaGrange High School. She'll start at the point, has the ability to really just attack the rim off the dribble. She's a great ball handler, good vision, really good on-ball defender. So, we're expecting her to have a great career here, and she's going to get the start right out of the gate. We'll bring Ashley Azuzu off the bench at the 5 to spell Carrie. She'll play significant minutes. 6 foot athletic post player from Montgomery, Alabama, and she started our exhibition game in a scrimmage because Carrie was out hurt. So she's got some experience already. And then Michelle Montgomery is a 6'2" post. She'll play a lot of the 4. And then Dee Dee DeSazier is an outstanding shooter and a guard who, she's just kind of been up and down like a lot of freshmen. But she could see some time tonight, and she's got the ability to get hot and get on a roll. So if she does that, we'll obviously keep her in the game a lot longer. So you'll see some freshmen tonight for sure.
A lot of extra size. Aside from the benefit of having the extra size, how much extra benefit is it that you get to allow Aisha and Shatil and some of these players to slot back into their normal spots?
Oh, that's been huge. You can just tell they're at a comfort zone. And for Shot especially, because now she'll be going up against players more her own size. And she had a great year last year, and she was going against the 6'1" and the 6'2". Now we think getting back to her comfort zone, it should give her an opportunity to just have an outstanding year. Aisha's doing a little bit of everything for us. Her role hadn't changed that much. She'll be a little bit more of a scoring threat, but we'll also use her at the point guard as well, just because of her experience. She's got a high basketball IQ. But that's been huge, just getting people back in their comfort zone and giving us matchups that are favorable to us.
What's the style of play look like this year?
We'll push it on offense, made or miss. Misses especially, I'm telling them, when we get a stop, we shouldn't have to run a play at the other end. We ought to run it to the other end. If we don't have anything out of our initial fast break, we're right into a continuity offense. There's going to be a lot of drive and kick. And then, the same thing, even when they make it, we want to try to get it down there as quick as possible. And we run a lot of quick hitters and sets and stuff, but they're quick, and they're quick scoring opportunities for matchups that are in our favor. Defensively, we're pretty vanilla. We've just worked so hard on our half-court man-to-man defense. We'll pressure the ball. We will throw out a little bit of zone, and we'll throw out a 1-3-1 trap, trying to turn people over. But that's more of an element of surprise. And right now we only have about 6 people that we think can be really effective in that trap because, it takes a lot of athleticism, a lot of communication. So the returner players are a lot better at that than our younger players.
Fort Valley State, the team that comes in here tonight, a very athletic bunch, a very raw bunch. What's the scouting report on them?
Contain dribble drives without fouling with the new rules. That's a huge concern of mine. They just love to lower their head and attack the rim, and they're super athletic. They've typically, in their 2 games they played, and I saw a scrimmage, they've been playing 4 guards, really. So, again, that's even more of a concern because they're going to have an advantage quickness-wise at the 4, taking us off the dribble. So, contain dribble drives, rebound the basketball, and then they've got just enough shoot. They've got 2 or 3 shooters that we've got to be aware of and find in transition. So that's been something we've harped on since our exhibition when we gave up 11 threes, is make sure we identify the really good shooters and not let them get a 3-point shot off, make them put it on the floor. So those are some of the things we'll have to take care of tonight.
When we talk post-game, aside from getting a win, what are the other things you hope you've seen from your group?
I want to see us be very sound defensively. We're going to shoot a lot, so the other team's going to get more opportunities. So total points I'm not as concerned about. I'm looking, do we cut down, do we keep their field goal percentage in the mid-30s or lower? Do we keep their 3-point field goals percentage under 30? Do we keep them off the free throw line? And then do we protect the basketball? Or we can't be winning games if we're not going to win games if we turn it over 15 to 20 times. We want to keep it 15 or under. So those are the things I'm looking for.
Coach, year 5 for you starts tonight. Best of luck.
Thank you.
Columbus State, Fort Valley State, the 2 getting set to battle the opening game of the regular season for the Lady Cougars. They were 16-11 last season, 12-7 inside the Peach Belt Conference. That was good enough to tie them for second in the Peach Belt Conference Western Division. They went into the Peach Belt Conference tournament as the number 3 seed out of the West, were eliminated by USC Aiken. And so they're on a 2-game losing streak, getting back to last season, losses to Clayton State and USC Aiken to close out the year. But they start this year with a lot of new faces, as Jonathan Norton talked about in his pregame. They bring back 4 players that played last season. Tay Smith, who gets the start tonight at 1 guard position. Aisha Alexander and Shatil Bradford, who play on the wing and at the forward spot for this Lady Cougar squad. And then Kayla Richards, who will come off the bench. Other than that, CSU returns Kristen Kennebrew, who redshirted last year, and Carrie Washington is back for the Lady Cougars after sitting last year out. She comes in as a junior, playing in 2010-11 and also 2011-2012. So 6 familiar faces to this program and 8 faces that you've not seen before. It's a very youthful bunch, but it's a youthful bunch that brought in some size, and that was much needed after last year's team was very, very small, with everybody playing at 5'10" or lower over the course of that season last year for head coach Jonathan Norton. Fort Valley State 0-2, but they won the last matchup between these two, winning last season at Fort Valley. When these two matched up, it was a 78-72 victory for Fort Valley. This is a new team for them as well. They've got a new head coach in Erica Henry. She does bring back some new players and some old players as well. As we get set for tip, we're going to send things over across the way to Brian Salido for your starting lineups and your national anthem.
Good evening and welcome to the Lumpkin Center here on the campus of Columbus State University for tonight's basketball matchup featuring the Lady Wildcats of Fort Valley State University and your Columbus State University Lady Cougars. In just a moment, we'll introduce tonight's starting lineups, but first we ask that you please rise and remove your hats as we honor the United States of America with the playing of our national anthem, the Star-Spangled Banner. And now introducing tonight's starters. First for the visiting Lady Wildcats of Fort Valley State University. Listed as forward 5'9", a junior from Thomasville, Georgia, number 22, Harmony Dawson. Also at forward 5'8", a senior from Dalton, Georgia, number 42, Marquisha Washington. Listed at forward 5'11", a senior from Tampa, Florida, number 34, Shatina Harley. The guards, first a 5'7" junior from Opelika, Alabama, number 24, Antiana Jefferson. And a 5'8" junior from Pelham, Georgia, number 11, D'Ambria Thomas. The Lady Wildcats are coached by Erica Henry, assisted by Jillian Caulfield and MD Mazik. And now, let's meet and greet the Lady Cougar starters. First in the post, 6 feet tall, a sophomore from Donaldsonville, Georgia, number 44, Carrie Washington. At forward, 5'10", a senior from Marlow, Georgia, number 42, Shatil Bradford. At one guard, 5'6", a freshman from LaGrange, number 14, Brittany Tatum. At guard, 5'5", a senior from Macon, Georgia, number 23, Tay Smith. And at guard, 5'9", a senior from Cuthbert, number 32, Aisha Alexander. The head coach of the Lady Cougars is Jonathan Norton, assisted by Gracie Barnes-Timmons and Kirsten Reed.
It's officially go time for the 2013-2014 basketball season. The Columbus State Lady Cougars set to kick us off. The Lumpkin Center here in Columbus, Georgia, the site as we get set for Columbus State and Fort Valley State here on Cougar Sports TV. Your starting lineups will look like this. For Fort Valley State, it's D'Ambria Thomas, a 5'8" junior out of Pelham, Georgia, along with Carmonique Dawson, a junior from Thomasville, Antiana Jefferson, a junior from right around here in Opelika, Alabama, Shatina Harley, a senior from Tampa, Florida, and Marquisha Washington, a 5'8" senior from Dalton, Georgia. For Jonathan Norton's Lady Cougars in his 5th season at the helm here at Columbus State, Brittany Tatum, his freshman point guard, will get the start out of LaGrange, Georgia. Tay Smith, the senior guard from Macon, will start on the floor, as well as Aisha Alexander, another one of the 3 seniors for this bunch, wears number 32 out of Cuthbert. Also Shatil Bradford, the senior forward from Morrow, Georgia. And in the center, it's Carrie Washington as she returns to the floor for the first time in 2 seasons, the junior out of Donaldsonville. Columbus State in the white uniforms, the red writing and the navy trim. Fort Valley State in the yellow uniforms, the blue trim, when with the opening tip. Basketball season is officially underway in Columbus, Georgia. Lady Cougars working right to left as you're looking at it, and they'll have opening possession to start off their regular season. Brittany Tatum, wearing number 14, will run the point for the team this year, a freshman. Getting the start on opening night. They give it to Tay Smith. The up and under is there, and the Lady Cougars on the board first. Tay Smith that time from Shatil Bradford makes it Lady Cougars 2, Lady Wildcats of Fort Valley State nothing. A turnover on the ensuing possession. Aisha Alexander on the steal, trying to go coast to coast to the rim, too strong. Kerry Washington tips the rebound around. Smith runs it down in the corner, tries to save it in bounds as it's taken the other way. Carmonique Dawson draws the foul on the far sideline. Touch foul called near the sideline against Brittany Tatum. The first foul of the season belonging to the freshman. And the ball belonged to the Lady Wildcats. Fort Valley State 0-2 on the season. Losses to Rollins College out of Winter Park, Florida, 78-71, a 7-point loss to the number 25 ranked team in the country. That opened the season for Fort Valley. Then they lost to Florida Tech in the second of that challenge. The shot is up and no good, that time out of the hands of D'Ambria Thomas. Washington the board, Tay Smith running with it. Shatil Bradford will tee it up from long range. The line drive off the front of the rim, Thomas the opposite way. You heard Jonathan Norton talk about in pregame, a Fort Valley miss. He wants to turn into a fast break the opposite way, and they did it on the last try. The jump pass turns into a shot for Shatina Harley, and it goes down from the elbow. Shatina Harley knots us up at 2 apiece. Fort Valley, a 6-4 edge overall in 10 previous meetings in this series. This meeting number 11. They drop it down low. Shatil gets her first touch in the post. Double teamed, has to kick it out. The kick pass into the hands of Tay Smith. Driving left, has her layup swatted out of bounds into the dance team standing on the left sideline. Harley coming away with the block there. CSU still with possession under their own basket. 10 on the shot clock. Corner 3 for Tay Smith rattles out. Kerry Washington home for the rebound. It's taken away from her, but they're going to say a foul was called. So Washington has already had her hands on a lot of loose balls coming off the rim. That's a big thing that she will do for this team. Not necessarily a prolific scorer in the paint, but she will grab offensive rebounds. Washington, the skip pass. Tatum, a 3. It's not there. Rebound pulled down on the backside by Harley. 2-2 in the early minutes here from the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. Opening game of the season for Jonathan Norton's Lady Cougars. His 5th season at the helm in Columbus. His 12th season overall as a collegiate head coach. That pass deflected away by Tay Smith out of bounds. It'll stay with the Lady Wildcats with 11 showing on the shot clock. 193 wins for Jonathan Norton versus 132 losses. 64 of those wins here at Columbus State. 64-45. Driving to the basket with a left hand. The shot not there for Dawson. Rebound tapped around. It was pulled down by Markeisha Washington, but she was called for a travel and will head back the opposite way. On the opposite side of the floor, Erica Henry in her first year at the helm in Fort Valley was an assistant coach there 2 years ago. Left to be an assistant coach at Grambling State last year. And with the head coaching vacancy in Fort Valley, came back to take the head coaching job. The pass to the opposite side of the floor, too tall for Tay Smith, ends up in the Lady Wildcat bench. And it's a CSU turnover. Jonathan Norton looks at his freshman point guard, Brittany Tatum, in her first collegiate action, says, hey, slow it down just a little bit. Easy to have some first game jitters for everyone, but especially a freshman making her first start. Driving to the right side, Harley off the glass too strong. Washington on the rebound and a late foul call on the stick back. The shot was no good, but Aisha Alexander called for the harm. For Alexander, her first, second called against CSU, and our first free throws of the season belong to Markeisha Washington, a 5'8" senior out of Dalton, Georgia. Averaging 8 points a game through 2 games so far. Was 8 of 9 from the free throw line before that attempt. Second one up and rolls through. Fort Valley State with its first lead at 3-2, and they'll pressure in the backcourt. Antiana Jefferson providing the one-on-one pressure against Tatum. Fort Valley in front by a point at 3-2. Tatum working with it on the left wing. Picks up her dribble, goes cross court. Alexander drives into the paint, up with the right hand, had it deflected out. Last touch by Harley. So Harley's had her hands on two separate shots now, taken by the Lady Cougars to this point. 11 on the shot clock on the inbounds. They get it in the hands of Tatum, has hers blocked. Comes up well short. Washington with it. I believe they're going to say Washington standing on the baseline. Out of bounds, it'll give it back to Fort Valley. So a third block that time. The block for Dawson. And Fort Valley back with it. So a very defensive start through the first 3.5 minutes of this one. 3-2 the score. Columbus State trailing. Harley takes Washington off the dribble. Carey with good hands that time. Made up for it after she was beat to the basket. Deflected it out of bounds. Harley tried to drive. It'll stay with Fort Valley. Down to 15 on the shot clock. They work it into the corner. Dawson, the lefty, for the three. It rattles out. Bradford pulls the rebound. She's going to rip and run. Off to Alexander from 15 feet. Rolls off to the backside. Rebound battled for. Bradford ties up Harley. And the alternate possession arrow favors the Lady Wildcats. First sub of the game belongs to Fort Valley. As checking in will be Brianna Shepard, a 6-foot senior out of Birmingham, Alabama. Seeing her first game action of the year here for Fort Valley. She's a Lady Wildcat volleyball player. No volleyball game tonight, though, and so she's able to play for Fort Valley State. That pass is turned over too strong and ends up over the end line, and we've got our first media timeout of the year. The under-16 media timeout on the court. 3-2, Fort Valley State in front of the Lady Cougars. (3-2) Fort Valley State in front as they'll go to the full court press out of the timeout. CSU will just throw it all the way over the top on the inbounds. Aisha Alexander to the rim, off glass. It's good. Aisha Alexander, her first points. Breaks a long scoring drought for CSU, and they're seesawing back in front at 4-3. Columbus State scored on its opening possession, had not scored since that point. Shepard to the rim, too strong. Rebound battled for, controlled by Harley. Shot clock doesn't reset as it never hit the rim. Down to 10 now. Driving in the basket, and a wild one thrown up that time is way too strong out of the hands of Jefferson. I believe they're going to say last touch by CSU, so Fort Valley will keep it again, though. Shot clock doesn't reset. So they have 7 as they trigger it in from the baseline. Into the hands of Thomas, the one-handed runner. Back rim, rebound, grabbed. Alexander on the run. To the right has Tay Smith. She goes to her. Deflected pass. She has her shot put up and blocked. Washington pulls it down. A lot of traffic in the center of the lane. Washington able to corral it. Tatum to the rim with the right hand, and Brittany Tatum has her first collegiate points. Tatum, the high school star from LaGrange High School from just north of here. 4-time All-Region player, a 3-time All-State selection. Very, very good high school player. Opposite end, Shepard's long jumper rolls off. Tay Smith leading it the other way. CSU still with its same 5 as it started the game with. They drop it down low. Bradford working on Shepard. Keeps the dribble down to her knees. It's loose, and it's Shepard tying Bradford up. And the alternate possession this time belongs to CSU, as Fort Valley State will check in a trio of subs. Ayanna Duggar, wearing number 10, comes in. Markeisha Washington returns as well, and Davina High steps on the floor for the first time for the Lady Wildcats. 16 on the shot clock for CSU on the inbounds. They drop it down low for Washington. In a double team, throws it up, and she'll draw the foul, and she'll head to the free throw line. Didn't look like Carey was ready for that pass, but she went up with it anyway, and she'll earn 2 free throws. Washington struggled at the free throw line early in her career, and that one rattles out. Shoots it and kind of steps away from it. Doesn't seem like she is confident with it staying on it. The foul was against Davina High, her first. Kristen Kennebrew checks in place of Tay Smith, her first run in a collegiate regular season game, as Washington knocks down the second. Washington will check out Ashley Azuzu, a freshman post out of Montgomery, Alabama. Subs onto the floor for the first time. 7-3, Columbus State with its largest lead at 4. 14 and change showing on the clock here in the Lumpkin Center. They swing it to the corner, CSU in a bit of a zone. And the pass, cross court, too high, off the hands of Davina High, and it into the CSU bench. A turnover, and gives it back to the Lady Cougars. Kayla Richards into the game in place of Aisha Alexander, so a bit of a different look now for CSU. Bradford and Tatum, the starters on the floor. Richards, Azuzu, and Kristen Kennebrew, the 3 new players in for Jonathan Norton. 7-3, Columbus State in front. They go over the top. It's stolen away. Shepard jumped over the top of Azuzu to tap that one towards the sideline. It ends up in the lap of Erica Henry, and it'll stay with CSU. 11 left on the shot clock. Kennebrew takes the inbounds as the clock rolls into single digits. Off to Tatum, down to Azuzu. Spin move with 2 hands, it rattles off. Rebound pulled down by Shepard, and she's going to run 1-on-2. Shepard all the way to the opposite end, too strong. Azuzu the board. Columbus State on the counterattack. The other way, Richards her first touch, and they'll slow it back up with Tatum. Swings it cross court, corralled by Azuzu, looking for somewhere to go with it. Finds Bradford. Kennebrew from straight on for 3. Back iron. Tries to run down her own miss. Azuzu on the floor to get it. Double teamed, has to drop it off. Bradford gets it. She's hemmed up, kicks it out. They get it to Azuzu from just inside the elbow. Another shot doesn't go down for the Lady Cougars. Not good on the jump shot so far. Stays a 7-3 ball game. In that 1-2-1 or 1-3-1 rather, zone look again here for CSU. High drives into the center. They kick it out up top. A clean look for Jefferson from downtown, and she buries it. Antiana Jefferson with our first basket from distance, and it's 7-6. High-paced action, just not a lot of scoring just yet. Bradford on the up and under gets the soft roll off the front iron. Shatil Bradford in the book, and 5 different Lady Cougars have scored. All 5 starters have scored the 9 points for CSU. To the basket, Washington high off the glass. It rolls out. Kennebrew, the rebound, runs the other way, pressured by High. Into the corner, Kayla Richards working with it. She'll drive and dish. Bradford, a second try from downtown. Again, it's short. Azuzu on the glass with the right hand. It misses left. So CSU's done well on the offensive boards. Hasn't followed it up, though. Jefferson to the rim, tapped away from behind by Tatum. And we've got another timeout on the floor. Our second media timeout. 11:56 showing on the clock. 9-6. Columbus State in front at the under 12 media timeout. Columbus State off to a rocky start in the field goal department. Just 4 of 17 from the field to start the season, but they hold a 9-6 edge because they're holding Fort Valley State to 2 of 12 so far. Again, it's a feeling out process in game number 1. Columbus State trying to replace 6 players that are gone, including Taryn White, their leading scorer, Shan Bassley, one of their top outside shooters that averaged nearly 10 points a game. A lot of other faces gone from that team from last year, and they're incorporating 8 newcomers to the floor as Jefferson tries one off the back rim. Offensive rebound for Fort Valley, scrambled for, and Jefferson ends up with it. High from the left wing, or 3, not there. Alexander the rebound. Aisha, one of the staples of this team, finds Washington down low, and Carey's headed back to the free throw line as she was fouled from behind that time. Good look by Alexander, the senior guard, one of the team captains for this CSU squad. Brianna Shepard picked up the foul. It's her first, the third against Fort Valley. And it's Carey Washington back to the line where she was 1 of 2 a few minutes ago. If Carey can knock down this portion of her game, she will earn a lot more valuable minutes late in ball games. She had a very rough go of this early in her career, and it makes her a liability, especially late in ball games. But so far, so good for Carey Washington. 3 for 4 from the line, and Columbus State with its largest lead at 5, 11-6. Shepard with the basketball, working on Washington, who gives her space. They back out. Shepard from 18 feet. Bounces out. Offensive board pulled in. The follow good. That time for Fort Valley. They send it to the opposite end. Washington in transition with the lay-in. Carey Washington with the lay-in in transition, and we've got a timeout on the floor. Timeout Fort Valley State, as Erica Henry not happy with her Lady Wildcats getting back on the floor. 13-8, Columbus State in front as Fort Valley taking a full timeout. Carey Washington sprinting down the floor that time and earning 2 points. She's the game leader right now with 5 for Carey. She sat out the 2012-2013 season, but she did play in 2010-2011 as a freshman, 2011-2012 as a sophomore, averaged just under 3 points a game as a sophomore 2 years ago for Columbus State. Hoping to play a much bigger role now in the center for CSU. A 6-foot player, something CSU didn't have a year ago. 5'10" was as tall as they stood with Shatil Bradford. This year, they have 6 foot with Ashley Azuzu, 6 foot with Carey Washington. Michelle Montgomery, who we'll see come off the bench, stands 6'2". Colleen Gottfried off the bench is 6'1". Mary McCarty is 6'2". She's not with the team at the moment because she's busy playing with the Columbus State volleyball team. Their regular season wraps up tomorrow, the conference tournament next week, so they're hoping to get her back rather soon. So there's quite a bit of height on this CSU team for the first time in a couple of years. 13-8, a 5-point game. Columbus State in front, showing a bit of a 1-3-1 full court defense now. Carey Washington triggering it out up top, adding some length to the top of the floor. Back out to the top, they swing it to the corner. Dawson a long 2, nothing but the bottom of the net. Carmonique Dawson with the basket for Fort Valley. Answer on the opposite end for Kayla Richards, way off, but Tay Smith in the right place at the right time with the follow. Tay Smith, second chance points for CSU, and it's 15-10. Over the top they go. They can't get it there, though, as Carey Washington too tall, able to take the steal away. Adding another element to a very strong night for her so far. Richards drives right, cut off, the handoff for Smith. Into the corner, Richards will try again. This time more set and buried. Buried that time by Kayla Richards, and it's now an 8-point Lady Cougar lead. That's what Richards will bring to the floor. She'll space it out and knock down the open jump shots. Sophomore started 11 games last season, and Shepard on her way to the rim will draw the foul. Carey Washington trying to draw the charge. Jonathan Norton thought she might have been there, but the referee says no dice. So Brianna Shepard, the senior from Birmingham, to the line for the first time tonight. She also a volleyball player for Fort Valley State. They still have games left on their regular season, but no game tonight, so they're allowing her to play basketball. The SIAC tournament coming up next week when she'll be back in action with the Lady Wildcat volleyball bunch. Shepard, 1 of 2 from the line, will check out of the game. Monique Wells in for the first time, and Shatina Harley comes back in. (18-11), Tay Smith with a corner three. The same spot that Kayla Richards just hit one. Tay Smith with one. She has 7 now. Tay Smith has made great strides. If you talk to head coach Jonathan Norton in this offseason, she worked hard as Washington has the steal, and she's going to lead it the other way. Look at the post player go. Tries to split the double team and had it knocked away from her at the rim. It'll stay with CSU as Antiana Jefferson will sub back in. Ayanna Duggar to the bench. Tay Smith, though, in between her junior and senior season, making great strides, and they need her to play a big role. Richards to the basket, had it blocked by Harley. Harley the block and headed the other way, and Kerry Washington just says, give me it. And she's got it back on the opposite side. Washington very strong offensively and defensively tonight. Tatum to the rim, had that one deflected. It was blocked on the part of Markia Price. So it'll stay in Columbus State's possession as Richards checks out. Shatil Bradford back onto the court. Over the top, the pass deflected. CSU keeps it, though. Bradford from just inside the elbow. Back rim the other way. Jefferson off the board. 21-11, Columbus State by 10. Out to an early edge underneath. Price wide open, and Washington has to come in and draws her second foul. Washington late on the recovery there, reached over the top of Markia Price, committed the foul, and she'll be set to check out of the game. Markia Price, the one to the line, a sophomore forward out of Stockbridge, Georgia. 3 points for her now as Washington heads to the bench with 8:48 to go in the first half with 2 fouls. And Ashley Azuzu, the one that comes back in her place. So the freshman in her first collegiate game, stepping onto the floor and needing to play some valuable minutes here in the first half. 2 good ones from Price from the line, and it's down to an 8-point game at 21-13. Tatum, the freshman point guard, leading the offense. Columbus State with an 8-point lead. Opening night here from the Lumpkin Center. Alexander to the rim, the jump stop. Can't get the basket to go, but does draw the foul, and she'll head to the line. Columbus State, 17-7 all-time in season openers. Last season on this floor, they opened up with Shorter University, picked up a 74-70 victory. They're 18-6 all-time in home openers. The foul was on Shatina Harley, who's been a force in the center defensively so far for Fort Valley State. It's Aisha Alexander, though, that's at the free throw line, rattles the second one in, and it's back out to double digits. Aisha now with 4. Tay Smith, the game leader, she has 7. The shot by Wells was short. Alexander, a strong rebound, and she'll lead it the other way. Columbus State has stuck to what Jonathan Norton said. Grab a rebound and take off, but they turn it over. Pressure on the ball that time by Jefferson, and it was Aisha Alexander trying to stop on a dime that drugged the pivot foot. 23-13, Lady Cougars in front. For Columbus State, that was turnover number 3. The Lady Wildcats have turned it over 7 times. Harley cut off, pass deflected into the hands of Jefferson from the free throw line. Off the back rim, 2 Lady Cougars there together for the rebound, and Alexander eventually controls and draws the foul. Alexander and Bradford both in on that rebound. Alexander finally said, nope, I'll take that. She draws the foul on Markia Price, and we've reached another media timeout. Timeout on the floor, 23-13, Columbus State by 10. Stephen Williams back here with you on Cougar Sports TV. Opening night of the 2013-14 regular season for the Lady Cougars. Taking on Fort Valley State here in the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. 23-13 Columbus State off to a good start here in the first half, under 8 minutes to go. New media timeout structure this year in the Peach Belt Conference. They're going more with the regular NCAA style as Tatum to the rim, too strong with the left hand. Alexander the follow off the back rim as well, and rebound pulled down by Dawson. Media timeouts coming on the first whistles now under 16, 12, 8, and 4 as the shot missed that time for Fort Valley State. Offensive rebound run down by Price. CSU everywhere though, deflected it and stole it away. Alexander comes away with it, stops at the top and dishes it into the corner. Tatum, baseline, the up and under, off the rim. Azuzu keeps possession alive for CSU. The jump ball, alternate possession arrow, sends it the opposite direction into Fort Valley's hands. The Peach Belt voting, though, this year to go back to the NCAA structure of media timeouts. So we have 4 media timeouts a half instead of 2. And that goes for both halves. Three-pointer teed up from the left wing for Dawson was short. Brittany Tatum fighting for the rebound, and now she's got a 4-on-1 the other way. Dishes off. Bradford on the receiving end with the layup. Long rebound carried out for Tatum, and it turned into a 4-on-1 fast break for CSU, who's now up 12, its largest margin. Shatil Bradford now with 4. To the rim, high off the glass, Shatina Harley. She has 4, and it's a 25-15 game. Columbus State up to 32% after they were at 23 earlier in the contest. They're at 9 of 28 now. Fort Valley, 5 of 22, 23%. Bradford hands it off for Tatum, down low to Alexander. The dish out. Bradford will try again, and again it's off the mark. Tay Smith on the rebound. Nobody boxed her out, and Tay twice tonight has laid one in off a Columbus State miss. Tay Smith now with 9. 27-15, back out to a 12-point game. Over the top, Harley on the turnaround. The follow-away over Azuzu is good for Shatina Harley, who came in averaging 16.5 points per game. 17 versus Rollins, 16 versus Florida Tech, and on the opposite end, Brittany Tatum with the lay-in as Fort Valley doesn't get back again defensively, and Erica Henry again takes another timeout. Columbus State doing what it wants to offensively early in this contest. A timeout on the floor, 5:39 to go in this first half. Columbus State in front, 29-17. Erica Henry in her first season at the helm here at Fort Valley State. Not pleased with the way her girls are playing here in this first half. They played very well in their first 2 games of the season. Had 2 losses to show for it, but played well against good teams out of the Sunshine State Conference. Struggling early in this one, though. Columbus State a 12-point edge to the corner. The three-pointer from right in front of the CSU bench. Not there for Davina High. Loose ball scrambled and retrieved by Dee DeShazer, who's on the floor for the first time. Underneath, Bradford gets it, and she traveled. Turnover for CSU. As Bradford with a couple extra steps, and it's back into the hands of the Lady Wildcats. Dee DeShazer, though, as I mentioned, on the floor for the first time. A freshman guard out of Tifton, Georgia, making her first collegiate appearance. Three-pointer from straight on from Katisse Williams. Bounds left off the hands of Kennebrew of CSU, and it'll stay with Fort Valley with a fresh 30 on the shot clock. Katisse Williams, the sophomore from Augusta, in for the first time tonight as well. Harley off the inbounds, working on Azuzu. They force her right. Harley, basket, and the foul. Shatina Harley trying to carry this team back into the game Pulls them within 10. The foul goes against Ashley Azuzu. It's her first. A chance to put it into single digits here for Harley, who already has 8. Make it 9 now for the senior from Tampa, Florida. 5 fouls per side, 29-20. Columbus State by 9, under 5 to go in the first half. So far, so good for the Lady Cougars. They work it to the left side to Shazer. Looking down low for Azuzu, double teamed as the help comes from off the wing. And they're going to say she drug the pivot foot. Couldn't keep it planted. And another turnover against CSU. That's their 5th. A chance with 4.5 minutes for Fort Valley State to continue cutting into this lead. We stayed close for a while in the early stages, and then CSU pulled away about the midway point of this first half. Into the corner. Williams will try another one. Short jump up in the air. The three-point attempt was long. Bradford, the rebound, will go all the way to the other end. Off to DeShazer, and Dee DeShazer with her first points of her college career. That's Jonathan Norton to a T right there, at least what he wants his team to look like this season. Grab the rebound of a missed shot, take off to the other end, and he's got the post players that can do that. From the baseline, Shepard has it bounce out, and a foul coming up over the top. I believe it was Harley over the back, and if it is Harley, it's her second. Harley on the foul, her second. She'll sub out of the game, and we've got the under 4 media timeout. 3:44 to go in the first half. Columbus State up by 11. They lead Fort Valley 31-20. Columbus State out by 11 with 3:44 to go in the first half. The Lady Cougars up 31-20 on Fort Valley State University. These teams have met 10 times previously. The home team has won 8 of those 10 matchups, including last season, a 78-72 win for Fort Valley State in Fort Valley, Georgia. Alexander in the middle of the paint with the right hand. It rolled off right. Rebound for Fort Valley, and they look to run, but Columbus State does a good job getting back on defense. And they'll slow up the Lady Wildcats. From the right side, though, Davina High drives all the way to the rim, and Jonathan Norton not happy as his team gives up an easy bucket. 31-22 now. Fort Valley in a 2-3 zone. Over the top goes the skip pass into the corner. Kayla Richards drives baseline and draws the foul. Markeisha Washington was closing out on a shooter in the corner. Richards with the pump fake, drove baseline, caught the body, and on the 7th team foul on the Lady Wildcats, Richards will head to the line for the 1-and-1. Markeia Price back into the game as Washington has to sub out with 2 fouls. 2 on Washington, 2 on Harley. They're both on the bench for Fort Valley. On the opposite side, Carrie Washington on the bench for CSU with 2 fouls. Kayla Richards with both of the free throws gives her 5 in the match. And it's back out to 11, 33-22. Baseline, this is Price working on Bradford. The fall away, bounces around, falls off. Tatum the rebound, and she'll push it the opposite way. Into the corner, Kennebrew with it. Up top for Tatum. Off to the right wing, Richards. 2:30 on the game clock. Richards hemmed up on the side, drops it off on a bounce pass for Bradford, has to go to the floor to keep possession. Somehow saw Richards in the paint, but had it deflected away and high with the steal. Great vision that time by Bradford, but it ended up in the hands of Fort Valley. Opposite end, Shepard draws the foul, and she'll head to the line. Kayla Richards picks up her first foul of the night. Sixth foul against Columbus State. Brianna Shepard heads back to the line where she's 1 of 2 for the night. Trio of subs coming in for Fort Valley. D'Ambria Thomas along with Antiana Jefferson. Carmonique Dawson also out there. Shepard will stay on the floor, as will Markia Price. Tay Smith comes back in for CSU as they give Kennebrew a rest. 2 for 2 for Shepard, who has 3. 33-24, back inside double figures. Columbus State still in front, though. They've led for the majority of this one. Fort Valley led at 3-2, the only lead they've had. Underneath, Richards falling right, goes off the glass. Kayla Richards with 7 in the first half. Good look that time by Shatil Bradford. Bradford already with 3 dimes in the game. Right in front of head coach Jonathan Norton. They go all the way across the court. Thomas, a 3. Bottom of the net. D'Ambria Thomas with a 3. The second of the night for Fort Valley, and they're within 8. Lady Wildcats trying to put together a strong close to this first half. Bradford double team, spilling left, glass, foul, and the basket. Shatil Bradford spun away from the double team, got around, and laid it in. Markia Price picked up the foul, her second. Shatil Bradford now with 6, tries to make it 7 as it's back out to double figures. Got the friendly roll, and it's into 11 now as Bradford finishes off 3 the old-fashioned way. Markia Price forced to sit down now with 2 fouls as Davina High subs back in. Thomas with a jump stop, and they don't let you do that kind. She jumped in the air, came down planted, and then tried to go up again. Credit CSU with the defensive pressure. 9 turnovers now against Fort Valley State in the first half. CSU with just 6. Tatum off the screen, dishes off. They swing it around the outside. Underneath for Bradford. In a triple team, got around, and she'll head back to the free throw line. Shatil Bradford imposing her will a little bit late here in this first half. The second foul now on Brianna Shepard. So the entire front line, starters and bench for Fort Valley State, each with 2 fouls. Shatil Bradford, a very good free throw shooter. Shot it at a 76% clip last season as she looks to close out a very strong senior campaign. Trying to put a good cap on a very good career for the Lady Cougars. 9 now for Bradford. She is the game leader along with Tay Smith, who also has 9. 45 seconds and counting here in the half. Alexander deflects that one away on the baseline with 41 showing. 16 left on the shot clock as we close in on halftime. Good showing so far in the first half for the Lady Cougars on opening night as Bradford, too physical that time against Shepard, and with the body picks up her first foul. Foul hurts a little bit more because it was the 7th against CSU, and so it will send Brianna Shepard to the line for the 1-and-1, but not before Columbus State takes a timeout. Jonathan Norton one to talk things over with 39.4 showing on the clock. 40-27, Columbus State in front. Fans, remember you can stay connected up to the minute with Columbus State Athletics on Twitter. Follow at CSU Cougars for all of your news and information surrounding Columbus State Athletics. Follow the individual sport Twitter handles for in-game updates. For women's basketball, that's at CSU Cougars WBB. Be sure to use the hashtag GoCSU to connect with the rest of Cougar Nation. If you were following CSU Cougars today, you would know that already today, the Columbus State women's soccer team advanced in the opening round of the NCAA tournament. A big win for Jay Entlich's Lady Cougars as they defeated Clayton State, the co-Peach Belt Conference champions along with Columbus State. 1-0 today over near Charlotte, North Carolina at Wingate University. They'll play on Sunday against Wingate at 1 o'clock in the second round of the NCAAs. So congratulations go out to Jay Entlich's crew. Brianna Shepard at the line after the foul by Bradford. Knocks down both. She's got 5, all from the free throw line. 40-29. 8-second differential between the game and the shot clock here for CSU, but they give it up in the backcourt. Shepard with the steal, and she'll turn it into 2 points on the lay-in. So within now 9 is Fort Valley. Alexander gets it through the press this time, up to Tay Smith with 20 showing. And then she double dribbles and gives it right back. So CSU not closing well as Fort Valley back within single digits at 9, and they'll have final possession here, should they choose, as the shot clock will be turned off. 40-31. Columbus State leading by 9. Fort Valley looks like it'll try to hold. Shepard goes off the dribble into the corner. Thomas hands it off to Shepard, who's wide open and missed the easy one. Richards trying to get rid of it, looking for somewhere to go, and at this point she's better off just to hold on to it. And we'll head to the locker room at 40-31. Fort Valley with a bit of a flurry down the stretch as they get a couple of points off turnovers committed by CSU. But the Lady Cougars do a lot of things right in the first 20 minutes here of the 2013-2014 regular season, and they head to the locker room at halftime, leading it 40-31 over Fort Valley State. Some of your scoring numbers here from the first half of action. Dee DeShazer with 2 to start off her college career. Brittany Tatum in her first game as well has 4. Tay Smith tied for the game lead. She has 9. Aisha Alexander with 4. Kayla Richards with 7. Shatil Bradford with 9. And Carrie Washington with 5 for CSU's 40. On the opposite side, DeAmbria Thomas with 3. Davina High with 2. Carmonique Dawson with 2. Antiana Jefferson came in as the leading scorer at 17 points a game. She had just 4 in the first half. Brianna Shepard in her first action of the season had 7. Shatina Harley with 9. Markeisha Washington scoreless in the first half, and Markeia Price had 4 for the Lady Wildcats. So 40-31, Columbus State in front as they go to the locker room for the halftime break. Lady Cougars by 9 will take the halftime break with them. Come back a few minutes prior. We'll take a look at what else is going on around the Peach Belt Conference and some more of your first half stats. Halftime here in Columbus, Georgia. It's 40-31 Columbus State here on Cougar Sports TV. Stephen Williams back here with you. Halftime of the regular season opener for the Columbus State Lady Cougars here at the Lumpkin Center inside Columbus, Georgia. 40-31, Columbus State in front by 9 over Fort Valley State in their season opener through 20 minutes of play. Some of your first half numbers as the teams warm up for half number 2. Columbus State shot 40% in that first half, much better the second stages of that first half. When they went to the under 12 media timeout, they were 4 of 17. They were 10 of 18 after that to close out the half to up their number to 40%. Struggled a little bit from the outside. They were just 2 for 10 from beyond the arc, but very good at the free throw line. 10 for 11, and that is a welcome sight to see. 10 of 33 for Fort Valley State, 30% from the field. 2 of 8 from beyond the arc, and they shot free throws well also. 9 of 11 for the Lady Wildcats from the charity stripe. CSU, a slight edge on the boards at 23-19. Both sides grabbing offensive rebounds as well. 9-8, Columbus State in front in that department. Columbus State turned it over 8 times, 9 turnovers on the opposite side for the Lady Wildcats of Fort Valley. Columbus State, one of the last Peach Belt Conference teams to get things going this season. Other than Columbus State, only Young Harris and Georgia Regents University, also known as Augusta State, those are the only other programs aside from Columbus State that had not played entering play here tonight. Now, that is not changing for any of those teams because neither one of those teams played last night or tonight. And so those teams still have not played a game this season in the regular season. Some teams inside the Peach Belt have played as many as 3. Clayton State, after a year, spending most of the year at number 1 last year before bowing out late in the NCAA tournament. They've already played 3 games. They're off to a 3-0 start. Georgia Southwestern, Georgia College, North Georgia, all with victories this season. Armstrong, Atlantic State University's 2-0. Landers 2-1. So the Peach Belt Conference has had a lot of teams already getting action this year, and we're going to find out this year. The Peach Belt Conference is as wide open as it's been in a long time. Clayton State is the preseason favorite. They received 12 of 13 possible first place votes. North Georgia picked up 2. They were voted second. Clayton State was the preseason favorite in the conference. Columbus State was picked to finish 5th in the PBC this year, but it's a very, very, very wide open race as they get set for all of that here this season. They don't open up conference play, though, until December 14th. That'll be when Montevallo strolls in here for the first conference games of the season. Until then, it's all out of conference play for the Lady Cougars, and it starts tonight with Fort Valley State University. Lady Cougars come back onto the floor to start the second half in their home white uniforms, the red lettering and numerals with the navy trim. It's the starting 5 for CSU. Brittany Tatum, the starting point guard in the backcourt, along with Tay Smith, Chantel Bradford at 1 forward, Aisha Alexander out on the wing, and Kerry Washington back on the floor after she sat the final 8 minutes of the half with 2 fouls. On the opposite side for Fort Valley, DeAndrea Thomas, along with Carmonique Dawson, Shatina Harley, Brianna Shepard getting the start here in the second half, and also Antiana Jefferson. CSU starting with the opening possession as they switch sides of the floor, working left to right as you're looking at it now. Chantel Bradford, the opening basket of the second half belongs to her, and she's the first player into double figures as the senior from Morrow, Georgia, has 11. Bradford averaged 10.5 points a game last year. She's above that this year. They're expecting her to have quite the senior year. Shepard had it tapped away by Bradford. They're going to go one-on-one. Shepard drives right at her, goes over the rim, and Tatum leads it the opposite way. The outlet pass going for Tay Smith was deflected away into the CSU bench. It'll stay with the Lady Cougars. Tay Smith, though, saying, hey, throw that one over the top and we get a layup. Brittany Tatum in her first collegiate action as the starting point guard had just 1 turnover in that first half, so that's job well done. Underneath, slick pass that time from Tay Smith to Kerry Washington, and she'll draw the foul underneath. Smith with a quick dish down low, and it earns the foul for CSU as Carmonique Dawson commits her first. Kerry Washington headed back to the free throw line. Washington, very nice minutes in the first half and earned 3 of her 5 points from the free throw line and gets another there. That stroke looks so much better than what the numbers show it looked like a few years back. And again, a player that's as physical as she is down low, she's going to spend some time this year at the free throw line, so they need her to shoot a good percentage from there. Back to a 13-point game. This matches the largest lead for CSU. Harley off 1 foot, back rimmed. Tatum the rebound. Again, looking to run off the rebound. Had it tapped away from her from behind. Tay Smith corralled it, though. She'll go to the rim. Basket, foul, and 1. Tay Smith playing a very strong game in the first of her senior year. The foul goes against DeAmbria Thomas. It's her first. Tay Smith in the double figures now. She has 11. Tay averaged just 6 points a game last year, doubling that up here in game number 1 this season. (47-31), largest lead for the Lady Cougars coming here early in the second half. Harley left her feet, drops it off for Jefferson, who goes cross court. Thomas over top of 3 players with 1 hand and Thomas drops it in. Fort Valley State off the main, going to the full court press. Alexander, no trouble breaking it, then backs it back out. To the corner, Tay Smith wide open. Missed everything though. Shot it too high and caught nothing but the outside of the net, the wrong side. Thomas, the other side, a wild layup missed, and it turns into a fast break opportunity the opposite direction. Alexander, jump stop, up for the basket. It's off the mark, but she'll draw the foul and head to the free throw line. Brianna Shepard picks up the foul. That's her third. She's the first in the ball game to reach that plateau. Aisha Alexander, a quiet night for her so far. Just 4 points for the senior out of Cuthbert. She's headed to the line, though, hopefully to add 2 more. Aisha Alexander, Shatil Bradford, and Tay Smith, the 3 seniors on this group. They're the veteran leaders. They're the ones that Jonathan Norton leans on, not only on the court, but off the court as well, as the second one falls out. 48-33, 15-point game. Couldn't ask for a much better start so far for CSU. Now they've just got to close it out over the final 17 minutes and 35 seconds. Over the top, the pass ends up in the hands of Brittany Tatum, a steal, and she's headed the other way. Numbers for the Lady Cougars. Good look for Bradford, and Bradford, they're going to wipe it off, as they're going to say Tatum picked up the offensive foul after the dish. Didn't come to a stop, ran over the defender, and picks up her second foul. Great look that time, though, from the freshman. Had a wide open layup for Bradford, just has to learn to come to a stop after she makes the pass. Jefferson working right corner for the Lady Wildcats. Hard screen on the part of Harley. Takes out Tatum, and they're going to say she was moving with it. And now Shatina Harley with 3 fouls. So Harley will join Shepard on the bench with 3 fouls, as Markia Price has to come into the game. So Columbus State a chance to move out to its largest lead. It's at 15 right now. Bradford wrestling the ball away from people, hits the floor and turns it over. Thomas goes behind the back in transition, dishes back out. An open look from 3 for Jefferson. Washington the rebound. Tatum offensively leading the way. Smith up top. Bradford at the free throw line. Drives left. The scoop too strong, but she'll head to the free throw line as she draws the foul. So now we've got another Fort Valley post player in foul trouble. Markeisha Washington with 3. So there's 4 post players for this Fort Valley State team. 3 of them have 2 fouls. And so Washington heads to the bench. Davina High will check in as Fort Valley goes small. Shatil Bradford at the free throw line. Knocks down the pair. She has 13, and CSU will send in a pair of subs. Bradford and Alexander, the seniors, will sit down. Kayla Richards and Kristen Kinnebrew come onto the floor. So a good night for Shatil continues. 17-point game. Off the glass, the runner not there for Dawson. Kerry Washington the rebound. The outlet pass stolen away from Tatum. Dawson for 3, front iron. Rebound pulled down by High, and she's fouled on the follow. Kerry Washington picks up the foul. That's her third, so she's the first Lady Cougar with 3. Davina High, the junior out of Atlanta, to the line, trying to add to her 2-point total for the night. Both sides have been shooting free throws at a very good pace so far. Columbus State at 89% for the game, 83 right now for Fort Valley. High knocks down the pair, and as Fort Valley State has done throughout this game, they're trying to pressure Columbus State in the backcourt after makes. Tatum's going to break the press by herself and starts the fast break. Numbers for Columbus State, but Fort Valley State gets back in time, and then Tay Smith's pass ends up in the hands of Thomas. Opposite way now for the Lady Wildcats. Smith that time was trying to find Washington to the glass. And an easy runner that time for Davina High. The layup cuts it down to 13 at 50-37. So 4 points in a row for Davina High, who now has 6. Smith able to keep it in bounds right in front of her own bench. Fort Valley State picking up the pressure now, defensively trying to claw their way back in. Tatum from just inside the free throw line, way off to the left. Rebound to Dawson. Jefferson down low. Markia Price goes up for it, picks up the foul, and she'll head to the free throw line. So not a good sequence here for CSU once Aisha Alexander and Shatil Bradford left the floor. 15-19 showing on the clock here in the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. Media timeout. Columbus State leading Fort Valley 50-37.
Markia Price at the line.
50-37, Columbus State in front, 15-19 to go here in the regular season opener. Markia Price at the free throw line out of the timeout. The foul went against Kristen Kennebrew. It was her first, the third against Columbus State in this half. Fort Valley's already committed 5, so it could be a long second half with a lot of free throws being shot. Dee DeShazer and Aisha Alexander subbed in for CSU at the timeout as Price misses them both. Big misses that time for Fort Valley State, trying to get back in this game. They'd cut a 17-point game down to 13 as Columbus State was struggling offensively. DeShazer missed the shot. On the opposite end, to the basket goes Dawson, and CSU draws the charge. Kristen Kennebrew, the redshirt freshman out of Tucker, Georgia, stepped in, drew the offensive foul against Carmonique Dawson. It was her second, and it gives it back into the hands of CSU. 50-37, it's still a 13-point game. Fort Valley State again with defensive pressure. It's worked well for them, taking Columbus State out of its offense. Alexander helping run the point right now for CSU with Tatum off the floor. Kennebrew scrambles to get that pass. Richards from straight on, back rim. Washington, the offensive board, missed the stick back, got the offensive board again, and then had it blocked, a jump ball, offensive, or alternate possession rather, opposite way for Fort Valley State. I believe that was Dawson that got up and got a hand on that shot by Washington and earns the jump ball. Carey in the game has 7 points and 9 rebounds. That's a welcomed addition to this team as we've got traveling against Ayanna Duggar. Duggar a little out of control, driving right, and Fort Valley State missing a lot of opportunities to get back in this. They're on a 4-0 run, but they've had offensive possessions with a chance to cut it into single digits if they were able to get some of these shots down. Kennebrew wide open, left wing, nothing but nylon. Kristen Kennebrew on the board for the first time in her college career, and she makes it count from downtown. Now a 16-point game at 53-37. High runner, not there for Thomas. Richards, a strong board, and a triple team being pushed around and finally fouled from behind. And that'll be foul number 7 against Fort Valley State. And with 13:57 to go in the second half, Columbus State is already in the bonus.
Fans, your attention, please. Please disregard the strobes that are going off. It is a false alarm. There's some popcorn that is burned out in the lobby. False alarm on the fire strobes. Thank you.
Fire alarm lights flashing here in the Lumpkin Center. Gotta love opening night. They say disregard the flashing lights going on across the arena right now. See if those disrupt play at all. Going off throughout the building as Kayla Richards knocks down the pair of free throws from the line. Stretching it out to an 18-point game now, Columbus State's largest lead. Columbus State up 55-37 now. Shepard from 15 feet, not there. Washington rips down another one. A chance to get it up to 20. Bradford, the jump shot, off the back rim and falls through, and it is a 20-point game. 57-37, Chatil with 15. This Fort Valley State team had played well in its first 2 ball games, and CSU making easy work of them so far through the first 27 minutes. This is Harley over Washington, and I believe Carey just got hit with her 4th foul. I think they're going to say she caught Harley on the arm, and that's been the only downside to Carey's game so far tonight. She's been in foul trouble throughout. Other than that, though, 7 points, 10 rebounds for the junior. It'll send Shatina Harley to the free throw line. Washington's going to have to sub out in favor of Ashley Azuzu. Antiana Jefferson back onto the floor for Fort Valley. Harley in double figures with 10, but only can get 1 of 2 down from the line. It's a 19-point game at 57-38. Skip pass, Kennebrew already has 1 from there, can't make it 2. As the long outlet pass is in the hands of Dawson. Harley running on the opposite end and took a step. You can see the frustration now on the face of Erica Henry, the first-year head coach. Her team had a chance there in transition to get an easy basket. Instead, Trent turned it over. And now a foul called from across the court as Dee DeShazer was trying to tiptoe down the sideline. And she'll have a chance to add to her total as she'll head to the line on the 8th foul committed by the Lady Wildcats. DeShazer, the freshman, one of 7 freshmen on this club, one of 8 newcomers. Played at Tift County High School there in Tipton, Georgia. Didn't play very much in the exhibition game CSU had against Reinhardt College. Its only exhibition of the preseason, but getting good run here tonight in the season opener. 21-point game now as DeShazer comes out, Brittany Tatum back in. (59-38), 12:40 to go. Harley off the backboard. It fell off. I think it bounced off the leg of Aisha Alexander on its way out of bounds, so it'll still be Fort Valley State basketball, and they'll have a new shot clock. Harley's been good offensively. Looking for some help now. Dawson trying to provide it. That 3, though, from the southpaw was an air ball. And to the floor goes Markeisha Washington. And I believe Shatil Bradford got called for a foul that she didn't think should have gone against her. I believe she just backed out of the way that time. Washington fell down, and all the ref saw was Washington hitting the floor. That's just the second, though, on Shatil, not in any kind of foul trouble there. The fifth against CSU. Thomas on the move, way off. Offensive board and stick back, good for Markeisha Washington, her first 2 points. Alexander quickly into the front court. Acrobatic shot falling to the right and to the floor. Aisha Alexander now has 7. Thomas out of control, lost it, but it ended up in the hands of Harley. Harley gets it back. The turnaround, way too strong. Tatum scrambles for the rebound, and she's on the move. Has Alexander working to her right. Dishes it off. Aisha lets the defender fly by, and Alexander with 2 more. And we've got a Fort Valley State timeout. 63-40, Columbus State pulling away on opening night. Lady Cougars by 23, 11:42 to play. (63-40), Columbus State out in front. Stephen Williams here with you on Cougar Sports TV, live from the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. Lady Cougars all over Fort Valley State in the first game of the 2013-14 season for CSU. Jefferson drives and dishes out. Fort Valley needing to start putting points on the board in a hurry, and that's one way to do it as Washington goes right at Shatil Bradford and draws the foul. For Shatil, that's her 3rd. And after the 30-second timeout, we've got another media timeout. The under 12 coming up here for the Lumpkin Center. 63-40. Columbus State up 11:31 left to play. After the media timeout, Markeisha Washington at the foul line for Fort Valley State. 2 shots coming up after the foul committed by Shatil Bradford. Fort Valley, though, not shooting free throws as well in this second half as they did in half number 1. They're actually not doing very much at all in this second half as well as what they did in the first. Columbus State led it 40-31 at halftime as CSU turns it over in the backcourt, and Duggar comes away with the easy layup. Lady Cougars have not done exactly well out of the full court press, and now they turn it over again, this time on a 5-second call. So the pressure by Fort Valley causing CSU issues in the backcourt as they commit back-to-back turnovers. And Fort Valley State's within 20 at 63-43. Carrie Washington comes back onto the floor, and now they're within 18 as they get an easy one backdoor off the inbounds. Markia Price coming away with that one, and again, pressure in the backcourt turns into a foul against Fort Valley. The Lady Wildcats looking for a travel call. They don't get it, though, as the foul goes on Ayanna Duggar. 9th foul against Fort Valley means CSU has one more time to shoot the 1-and-1 before they enter the line to shoot 2 the rest of the evening. Talked about it early in this one, in this half. It could be a long night from the free throw line, with both teams now into the bonus with 11 minutes and change showing on the clock. Aisha Alexander, the one at the free throw line for the 1-and-1, hits back iron. The ball misses out. Alexander tried to run down her own rebound and heads the other way, so it's just as good as a turnover for Fort Valley State. They were down by 23. A miniature 5-0 run. It's down to 18. Jefferson for 3. Off back rim. Alexander skies for it. And then she's tied up on the floor. Shepard, the one that tied it up. Possession arrow pointing Columbus State's direction. Columbus State now slipping away a little bit. Needing to kind of right the ship here to allow Fort Valley State from getting all the way back in it. Tatum back on the floor to handle things offensively, and she turns it over. Duggar takes it away from her. Duggar off to Shepard, over the top of Tatum, off the glass and in. This pressure causing CSU all a world of trouble. It's a 16-point game now, 63-47, nearly another turnover. And in the scramble for the loose ball, an unfortunate foul against Brianna Shepard, who had just about forced another steal. And then scrambling for the loose ball, decked Brittany Tatum, who will head to the line to shoot 2. And for Shepard, the foul is her 4th. So Brittany Tatum, the freshman from LaGrange, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 3 assists for her already tonight at the line to shoot 2. Columbus State, 20 of 24 from the line, 13 of 19 for Fort Valley. Shepard forced to sit with 4 fouls as they run Shatina Harley back on the floor. Tatum's second one goes down. It breaks a 7-0 run on the part of Fort Valley State, and Jonathan Norton wants to use a 30-second timeout. 64-47, Columbus State by 17 with 10:42 showing on the clock. Fans, Columbus State Athletics needs your support. CSU's challenging Cougar Nation to help us reach 2,000 likes on the official Facebook page. Here's how you can help. Go online to facebook.com at home or on your mobile device. Search for Columbus State University Athletics. Click that like button and help us continue that climb towards 2,000. Still to come later tonight, Lady Cougar Volleyball from Pembroke, North Carolina. They're scheduled to begin at 7:30, so just a few moments from now. Last I heard, though, that may not go off on time because of a basketball game that's going on there at UNC Pembroke. But Casey Cornett's Lady Cougars in the final weekend of the regular season there for Peach Belt Conference Volleyball. They play UNC Pembroke tonight. They're at Francis Marion tomorrow at 2 o'clock, and then next week it's the Peach Belt Conference Tournament. So still some Lady Cougar athletic action still to come tonight. The runner by Jefferson too strong. Tatum the rebound. And then in the pressure, referees are going to get together and see if they've got a travel or a foul first. The two of them talking it over. Pressure in the backcourt on Tatum, and they're going to go with traveling. Another turnover in the backcourt. CSU now has 16 turnovers for the game. It's not been pretty against pressure so far for Jonathan Norton's crew. You know what they'll be working on in the gym at practice time. Still a comfortable lead, though, for CSU. It's 64-47. Lady Cougars in front with still a full 10 minutes and change to play. Jefferson to the rim. The finger roll was off to the right. Tatum grabs another rebound. The freshman guard having a good night on the glass. She has 7 of them. Stands just 5'6", but's been in the right spot tonight. CSU looking for a little offense now as we hit the 10-minute mark. Tay Smith with the three-point attempt. Short. Alexander, the follow, falls off. Washington's follow not there. 3 looks at the basket, 2 from a foot away. None of them go down. So Fort Valley State still within 17 on a 7-1 run. That one rattled out. Harley, the offensive board, a wild one, way too hard. Tatum the opposite way after the board by Bradford. Washington called for the pass and then turned her head, and Tatum threw the pass anyway. Goes right out of bounds, another CSU turnover. Jefferson subs out, D'Ambria Thomas back in with 9:30 to go. Thomas, the starting point guard for this team, leading this offense at the moment. Harley, one-on-one with Alexander, backing her down, dishes it out. Duggar to the rim with the left hand, offensive foul. Ayanna Duggar with the offensive foul, her second. Shatil Bradford, the one that stepped in to draw it, and they'll immediately take Duggar off the floor, put Dawson back out there. Kennebrew in for CSU, Tay Smith out. But again, off a dead ball or a make, Fort Valley State into the full court press. Tatum gets it to Washington, who lost it. Not who you want to get it to in the middle of the floor. CSU somehow scrambles to get it back. Bradford spin move, left hand, it's good. Shatil Bradford with 17 now as she goes off glass. Shatil, such a good spin move. One of the moves in her arsenal down there in the post. They drop it back. Alexander takes it away. Has 2 players out in front of her. It's 3-on-3. Alexander's going to go all alone, and out of position that time was Markeisha Washington, and she'll draw her 4th foul as Alexander trying to go coast to coast after the steal. Washington with 4, Shepard with 4, and for CSU it's Carrie Washington with 4. Aisha now joining the crew in double figures as she has 10. Washington will stay on the floor. Nope, does sit down, I believe, for Fort Valley State. Shepard comes back out. She has 4 as Alexander split the pair. Goes to the floor to get the rebound and keeps it alive for the Lady Cougars. .20 game as Kennebrew tees one up from the corner. Kristen Kennebrew, her second trifecta of the night. 6 points for the redshirt freshman from Tucker, and it's back out to its largest margin at 70-47. Shepard, short, Washington the rebound. So Fort Valley went on a 7-0 run. Columbus State has matched it with 7 of its own. Tatum lost it, had it taken away by Thomas, and she'll go uncontested with the left hand for the layup. D'Ambria Thomas with 4. Turnovers now at 18 for CSU. Tatum off to Washington, missed the layup. Carey's had a little bit of trouble from in close. That one just about taken away by CSU, poked from behind by Tatum, but over the sideline into the scorer's table, and we've got a media timeout. 7:39 showing on the clock here in the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. Columbus State 70, Fort Valley State 49. Stephen Williams back here with you on Cougar Sports TV. Columbus State University opening up its regular season. 70-49, they lead Fort Valley State with 7 minutes and change to go here on opening night. Cougar men open up next Thursday, the 21st, here in this building as they'll take on Carver Bible College. High, driving to the rim, was tripped up, I believe, by Kennebrew. Will pick up the foul. It'll be the 7th against Columbus State, and that'll send Davina High to the free throw line for the 1-and-1. For Kennebrew, that's foul number 2. Columbus State with a 21-point edge so far. Kayla Richards set to come into the game for CSU. Kerry Washington will sit down. High at the line, earns the second. She has 7 now. The pair good for High. And the game at 70-51. I'm not sure what Shatina Harley was doing that time for Fort Valley State. The Lady Wildcats made the free throws, and then Harley got ready to trigger the ball in bounds. I don't let you do that here. Tatum gets it up the floor, trying to dish it off to Richards, and the pass a little off the mark, out of bounds, and another CSU turnover. So Tatum, after having just 1 turnover and half number 1, struggling a little bit here in the second half, as she's now turned it over 6 times in half number 2. A more fast-paced half, a lot more defensive pressure. And the freshman has forced the issue a couple of times. 70-51, Columbus State in front. Harley, the runner. Rebound pulled down by Tatum, who very shortly could be in double figures in rebounds. I'm not sure they thought that was going to happen. Tatum high off the glass that time from just inside the free throw line. Adds 2 more to her total. She now has 7. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists. So a good night, good collegiate debut. Richards denies that pass down low, deflected around. Last touched off the foot of Kayla Richards. So it'll stay with Fort Valley with 17 on the shot clock. Jonathan Norton said he was going to look not at the point total for Fort Valley, but rather the shooting percentage. And right now at 29%, I'd say he's pretty pleased. Harley's turnaround. That one's good. Shatina Harley with just her first field goal of the second half, as she has 11. Make it 12, rather. Again, pressure in the backcourt. Columbus State gets through it. Bradford from 10 feet. Chatil adds 2 more to her total. Give her 19 now. Chatil, career high is 24, so she's 5 away from that mark. Shepard to the rim. Right hand rolls out. Richards fighting for the loose ball on the rebound. It's tied up. Alternate possession favors Fort Valley as we get a sub on both sides. Shepard sits down for the Lady Wildcats, as does Kayla Richards for CSU. Dawson back in for Fort Valley, and it's Kerry Washington that returns for Columbus State. Dawson just can't find it from the field tonight as she airballed that one. It was kept alive by Washington. Dawson came in averaging 12 points per game through 2 games. Has just 1 basket tonight. She's 1 of 8 from the field. Chatil Bradford picks up the foul down low, defending Washington. It's her 4th, so Bradford and Kerry Washington each with 4. The 1-and-1 opportunity, though, was missed by Washington. Rebound scrambled for on the floor, ends up in the hands of Fort Valley, who proceeds to turn it over. Chatil leading it the other way. Tatum can't save it from going over the end line. Didn't catch the ball cleanly in transition, lost it, and it's another CSU turnover. (74-53), 5.5 minutes to play. Columbus State up by 21. A successful opening night so far. Harley, the shot attempt up. Doesn't go down, but she draws the foul. And I believe that is 5 and the end of the night for Carrie Washington. Carrie Washington fouls out with 5 minutes and 20 seconds to go. But for the first time on the floor in 2 seasons, overall a good debut for her. 7 points, was in double figures in rebounds tonight. Fouls out, though, with 5 minutes to play, so that's what she's got to work on. Jonathan Norton giving her some instruction over there on the bench as it sends Shatina Harley to the line to shoot 2. Harley came in with 16.5 points per game. She's right now at 13, so she's coming close to living up to her average. Other players on this team that came in averaging double figures, not so much. Dawson, who we just mentioned, was averaging 12, has 2. Jefferson came in averaging 17. She only has 4, and it's another CSU turnover in the backcourt. Lady Cougars not good right now in press break. 74-55, 19-point game, Columbus State in front. Harley tries again, the jumper long. Alexander the rebound, and then she picks up the foul. Again, if you're new to college basketball this season, the fouls are going to be up this year. A lot more of an emphasis on cleaning the game up, making it tighter, trying to clean up the fouls, allow it to become a more offensive game. And so you're seeing a little bit of that tonight. The teams have combined for 38 fouls. Aisha Alexander at the line. CSU well into the double bonus at this point. Aisha, a double-double on the night. 11 points, 10 rebounds. Make it 12 points and 10 rebounds. Alexander with her 4th career double-double. A good way to start off her senior season. 76-55 as we go under 5 minutes to go. Thomas's jumper is good. Back inside, 20 now. But Fort Valley State can't really get it inside of 17. And we've been sitting on this edge, teetering around 17 to 21 for a while. Kennebrew was wide open, chose not to shoot it as CSU wants to run a little clock. Tatum off a screen from Richards into the paint. No one picks her up. Couldn't get the soft roll. Thomas the other way. The outlet. Dawson working on Alexander. Aisha commits the foul, and Dawson heads to the line. For Aisha, that's her 2nd. Now both teams are in the double bonus. So 2 free throws from here on out. Been a tough night for Carmonique Dawson. 1 of 8 from the field. Missed that last free throw. Able to get that one. Has just 3 points though. Back to the full court press in an 18-point game. 4:22 showing and another 5-second violation. Jonathan Norton saying no way, that's 5 seconds. Imagine he'd argue that call a little harder later in the year or in a ball game that was a lot closer than this one, but an 18-point lead with 4:20 to go kind of lets that one slide. Shot off the mark. Bradford the rebound, and she's going to run with it. The senior, though, wisely chooses to back it out as the Lady Cougars have decided to back off a little bit on the tempo, slow it up, and run some clock. Tatum, though, needs some separation there to stop the 5-second count. 18-point game, under 4 to play now. Alexander with it, 10 on the shot clock. She'll drive to the left, jump stop, too strong on the shot. Rebound pulled down by Harley. Other end, Jefferson drops it off. Price can't get it to fall. Tatum the rebound, and she'll run with it. It's a 2-on-2, her and Alexander there. The floater for Tatum with the right hand. Brittany Tatum closing in on double figures. as we've got another timeout coming up on the floor. Fort Valley State taking the timeout, 3:27 showing on the game clock, 78-58. Columbus State by 20 on its way to a 1-0 start for the 2013-2014 season. Lady Cougars by 20. Opening game of their 2013-2014 year. Next game for them will be on Monday night. They'll be in Rome, Georgia to take on Shorter as Dawson misses again from outside. Richards tries to scramble for the long rebound. They're on the floor with it, tied up. And it'll be in favor of CSU on the arrow. And now we've got the under 4 media timeout. We'll keep it here for this one. 3:12 to go. It's still a 20-point game. Columbus State heads on the road to Shorter University on Monday, the return game after the two played last year in the opening game of the season here on this floor. 74-70, Columbus State ended up winning that one by 4 points to start its season off 1-0. Then they'll head on the road on the 23rd. That's next Saturday, where they will take on West Georgia, a team that came in here and defeated the Lady Cougars last season. And then they'll play this Fort Valley team along with fellow SIAC member Albany State on the 30th and December 1st in the PBC SIAC Challenge. They're not back at home again in this building for nearly a month. December 7th, they'll take on Selma at 2 o'clock. That's a Saturday afternoon, as the Lady Cougars will be back at home finally for that one. As we mentioned, Columbus State men will be in action on Thursday night right here at the Lumpkin Center and on Cougar Sports TV. They will take on Carver Bible College. That was a team that they played in an exhibition contest last year on this floor, easily winning that one. This year it's a regular season matchup. So that'll be the start to their season before they will play in a couple of Thanksgiving weekend games here, as they will take on Voorhees College on November 29th. That is the Friday after Thanksgiving. And then November 30th, they'll take on West Georgia the Saturday of Thanksgiving weekend. We'll have all three of those games for you right here on Cougar Sports TV. 3 minutes showing on the clock here inside the Lumpkin Center. Lady Cougars by 20. They've been in control of this one throughout. It hasn't really been in doubt at all in this second half. Alexander scrambling to the floor, and we'll have another jump ball. Don't have a tally on how many alternate possessions we've had in this game, but that number's got to be nearing double figures. It belongs back into the hands of the Lady Wildcats, down by 20. Harley, the turnaround from 12 feet, good. Shatina Harley, right at her average now as she has 16. Kennebrew gets through the press. She's one-on-one against Dawson, lost it, able to get it back. Dawson knocked it away, and now Jonathan Norton says, let's back it up, run a little more clock. Had a one-on-one situation, so he was okay with her trying to go after it. But after she didn't get it on try number one, let's try it again, but reset it up top. Shot clock at 10 as Tatum has it right wing. Over the top, Bradford, great pass from Tatum, and Shatil finishes it off. Shatil continues her good night. She has 21. Brian Salito letting everybody know 2 minutes left on the clock. As another foul committed by CSU underneath. This one will go against Brittany Tatum. That'll be her third. So in a 20-point game, 80-60, Brianna Shepard at the free throw line. Shepard seeing her first action as CSU will send a trio of subs in. Shatil Bradford likely done for the night, as is Kayla Richards and Kristen Kennebrew. Dee Dee DeShazer in, Ashley Azuzu in, and we'll get our first look as well at Michelle Montgomery, a freshman post player from Elizabethtown, Kentucky, about 45 minutes from my hometown of Louisville. Foul from behind that time on Shatina Hartley as she jumped all over the back of Brittany Tatum, who will head to the line for two. Michelle Montgomery, though, a freshman post player, stands 6'2", scored over 1,000 points, pulled down over 1,000 rebounds in her high school career. A bit of a mix of a post player. Has the ability to play down low, but also a good shooter's touch for a player that stands 6'2". Has the ability to score from the outside, and that'll be valuable down the road for Montgomery. Tatum splits the pair of free throws. She's in double figures in points, though, with 10. She needs one more rebound for a double-double. Pass that time from Shepard, too high over the head of Dawson, and that will draw the ire of Erica Henry off the bench. Stands up and starts stomping around. Henry, quite the competitor you can imagine, was a former Division I women's basketball player at Fresno State out in California as DeShazer lost the ball. Jonathan Norton just a hand on the hip and says, okay, I guess there's not going to be a foul there. .20 game, 100 seconds left to go. Three-point attempt from High is long. Pulled down by Jefferson. Back to High, driving to the rim, and Davina High puts two more in. CSU almost committed another turnover in the backcourt. Tatum lost it, but it was last touched by Fort Valley. A minute 22 to go, 81-63. Columbus State set to move to 1-0 on the year as Tatum turns it over again. Thomas on the outlet will easily lay it in. 81-65. Right now it's just a matter of what the final score is going to be, not who is going to win the ball game. A minute 2 to go as that one's tipped away. So Columbus State going to improve to 18-7 all-time in season openers, 19-6 all-time in home openers as they go under 60 seconds to play. Good start for the Lady Cougars as I believe Aisha Alexander committed the foul after the ball was stripped away from her by Brianna Shepard. So credit this Fort Valley team for not giving up down the stretch despite being down near 20. Shepard's going to head back to the free throw line. Turnovers now up to 26 for Columbus State, so that's a number that Jonathan Norton's not going to be happy with. We'll hear from him after this one ends. Also, a member of the Lady Cougar squad will stop in with us as we get set to wrap things up 50 seconds from now. Shepard, a nice night for her so far. 11 points for the senior from Birmingham in her first action. Done good work from the free throw line. She has just 2 field goals, but she's made 8 free throws now. And they'll stay in the full court press. It's down to a 14-point game again. The final outcome is known. The final score is not. CSU finally gets it across. Azuzu looking for her first points. Has the shot bounce off the rim. Up the floor, Shepard with an easy layup. Missed it, though. It's been that kind of night for Fort Valley State. Things just haven't gone their way. And with the shot clock off, CSU doesn't have to put another shot at the rim. Shot clock off, 15 seconds to play. Columbus State now just trying to run the clock out. They give it off to Azuzu. She will take the shot anyway. Missed it with the left hand. And Shepard again out in front of everyone, and this time she gets the layup. So it will close at a 12-point margin. 81-69 is going to be the final here from the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. The Lady Cougars 1-0 on the season as they knock off Fort Valley State 81-69 and avenge a loss against this Fort Valley team last season. Columbus State now will turn its eyes to Shorter University on Monday night as they get a 12-point victory. 12, though, doesn't tell the story of this one, as it was not a 12-point ball game. This one stayed about 17 to 23 points over the course of the entire night. But with late turnovers and late baskets down the stretch, Fort Valley State was able to pull their way back into it and end up falling by just 12 down the stretch and coming out with the victory at 81-69. For the Lady Cougars, it looks like this. Dee DeShazer in her her first game as a Columbus State Lady Cougar picks up 4 points. Kristen Kinnebrew, her first game of action as a Lady Cougar as well. The redshirt freshman ended up with 6 points on a pair of three-pointers. Brittany Tatum closed out her first game of her career, another one of the newcomers for CSU. She dropped in 10 points, came very close to getting a double-double. I believe she finished with just 9 rebounds, though. Still, though, a very good performance for the freshman point guard, needing to control the turnovers a little bit, but has been okay in every other department aside from that. Tay Smith, who really didn't play many minutes at all in the second half, was in double figures, 12 for her in the first game of her senior season. Aisha Alexandra with 12 as well. She finished with a double-double as she pulled down 10 rebounds to go along with her 12 points. Kayla Richards closes out the night just shy of double figures. She finishes with 9, was very close to having 5 CSU players in double digits. Shatil Bradford was the game leader. A big night from the Lady Cougars senior team captain. 21 points, 4 rebounds for Shatil in the opening game. And Carrie Washington, in her first basketball action since the 2011-2012 season, goes for 7 points and 12 rebounds in just 19 minutes of action. She was hampered by foul trouble for most of the night, but ends up still with a very strong stat line in their first game back as a Lady Cougar. On the opposite side, 4 Lady Wildcats in double figures, 16 for Shatina Harley, 14 for Brianna Shepard, 10 for Davina High, and 11 for DeAmbria Thomas. And then after that, it's just scattered across the board. Markia Price was 6, 4 for Markeisha Washington, and 3 apiece for Jefferson and Dawson. You look down at that field goal percentage number for Jonathan Norton, that's what he was looking at. Fort Valley State shoots just 31% from the field, 12% from beyond the arc. They really kept themselves alive in this ball game by going 21 of 30 from the free throw line, as Columbus State played quite well defensively as they forced 18 turnovers as well. On the opposite side, the Lady Cougars shoot 43% for the game, 25% from outside, so a little bit of a struggle from downtown for them. They knocked down 25 of 31, though, from the free throw line en route to the 12-point victory. Shatil Bradford, the senior team captain, on her way over here as we get set to wrap things up with her and head coach Jonathan Norton here post-game as the Lady Cougars win it 81-69 over Fort Valley State. Shatil Bradford sitting down with us now. It feel good to finally be back out on the court?
Yes, definitely, after a week of practice.
You look at it, you all come out, you didn't know what to expect. It's a lot of new faces on this floor. Kind of assess what you thought of this team tonight.
Fort Valley?
Of your team.
Oh, I think we did a lot of improvement from our last exhibition game. We've been working hard on defense. Granted, we let them score 69 points, but it was a lot of good spots for us as a team to overcome.
A little bit different for you. You don't have to play the 5 this year because you're not the tallest player on the roster. Does it feel more comfortable being back in your natural spot?
Well, actually, I'm still playing a little bit of 5. I ain't got quite out of it yet because Carrie had an injury, so we're still trying to move her back to getting as much play time as possible. But it does feel good to play the 4 a lot.
You look at it, you come back on Monday night, a lot of turnovers tonight. How do you all fix that before Monday?
We just got to be stronger with the ball. That's what it really comes down to. We weren't strong these last couple of minutes of both halves, and we've just been very loose with the ball.
Well, 21 points for you tonight, a good start to the season and a victory. 1-0. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Shatil Bradford here with us as we wrap things up. Head coach Jonathan Norton will be with us here shortly as his Lady Cougars roll off to an 81-69 start as they knock off Fort Valley State. Again, the turnover part is where they'll have to fix things as they go forward. 26 of those tonight against Fort Valley State, and a lot of those coming in pressure situations in the backcourt as the Lady Cougars were put against a full court press down the stretch. They struggled with that But fortunately for them, they had enough of a cushion already built up that they felt like they had a comfortable lead, and Fort Valley wasn't exactly setting the world on fire in the shooting department to help pull away from them in that point. So things to work on, but again, Monday night they'll be right back in action against a shorter team that knocked off Montevallo last night. I was talking with Jonathan Norton about it yesterday. He said shorter, a good bunch, a physical bunch, but very quick as well. Good guards, good in the post. It'll be a challenge for them as they go up there. The two played a very tightly contested match on this floor last year in the season opener, a 74-70 victory for the Lady Cougars over Shorter last week, and that's the opponent coming up for them on Monday. Again, they're back here on December 7th. That's a Saturday here inside the Lumpkin Center. They'll take on Selma at 2 o'clock. Until then, though, they're going to be on the road or on a neutral floor as they've got 4 games between now and then. Shorter in West Georgia on the road, Fort Valley State and Albany State on a neutral floor in Americus as they'll play the PBC SIAC Challenge at Georgia Southwestern. That'll be coming up at the end of the month. That's Thanksgiving weekend. We're back here on Thursday night. Carver Bible College, the team that's coming in to take on Robert Moore's men. That will be the matchup for you coming up Thursday night from right here in the Lumpkin Center. We'll have it on Cougar Sports TV for you. Robert Moore's men went to UAB for a exhibition match with the Blazers, the Division I team out of Conference USA. That happened back on the 8th of November. That was a week ago today, last Friday night in Birmingham, Alabama. The Cougars had a good showing. They were down a decent amount for most of that contest, but ended up losing by just 20, played well down the stretch, and you thought you saw a lot of newcomers tonight for the Lady Cougars. You got quite a few newcomers as well for Robert Moore's men. He only brought 5 players back from last season. One of those is injured as they go into play on Thursday night. And so you will see a lot of new faces, but some good size, some good post players that were added to the list this year for CSU. They've got good guards as well. And Robert Moore is hoping that after a disappointing 2012-2013 season, that his bunch will turn things around as they head into next year, or rather head into this year as they try to get back into the mix in the Peach Belt Conference. Didn't like how they finished last year as they lost out and didn't even make the Peach Belt Conference tournament, finishing just 13-13 overall. But hopefully they get off to a good start on Thursday night as they'll take on Carver Bible College here on this floor. Head coach Jonathan Norton getting set to walk down here with us as he finishes up radio duties here locally in town with Scott Miller. We'll get his final thoughts, and we'll send you on your way here on this Friday night. 81-69, the Lady Cougars wrap things up. A strong night for Chantel Bradford, 4 players in double figures. Still things to work on, though. Just game number 1 for this Columbus State team as Jonathan Norton walks in to sit down with us here on Cougar Sports TV. His team wins it by 12. Coach, you get the first game under your belts. Obviously, not exactly what you were looking for. Maybe it wasn't pretty, but it works nonetheless for you.
Yeah, I mean, it's a win, and it's a home opening win. And with a young team, we knew it was going to be sloppy at times. And with their pressure, I just thought we were weak with the ball. I thought we were getting people in the right spots for the most part. We just got a little rattled and a little careless with the ball, which, you got a freshman at point. She's capable of making great plays, but then – she's not used to this pressure, but she'll get there. But it's a win.
Fort Valley State, a team that played 2 relatively good teams, one top 25 team, pretty close. You come in here, you controlled it pretty much throughout. What was the reason for that?
I thought we made free throws. We got to the free throw line early and often, and we made them. We shot a pretty high percentage from the field. We didn't make many threes, but when you look at their stats, they just couldn't make many shots, 31%, 12%. And we did end up out-rebounding them by 8, and that was huge.
When we talked in pregame, you said that 31% number was the one you were going to look at when this one's over. You have to be pleased with that.
Oh, absolutely. That's field goal percentage, three-pointers made, and three-point field goal percentage. That's huge. And then rebounding the ball. We just got to do a much better job. If we don't turn the ball over, we win this going away.
You look down the board for you all, though. 4 players in double figures, a 5th one with 9. It was a pretty balanced effort all the way across the board.
Yeah, and I think that's the way our team's going to have to be this year. I don't think we have that one player that's going to go out and get us 20 every night. So I just think we're going to have, 4, 5, 6 players on a given night give us 10 to 15 points, and we're going to need that to win.
Brittany Tatum, her first time playing, played a big role for you tonight. What did you think of her?
I thought she was great at times. I think I left her in there too long at the end. Probably got a little fatigued, and that made for a few careless mistakes. But overall, I mean, 10.9 defensive rebounds is huge, and 5 assists. We'll get her in the right spots and work on handling the pressure at this level, and she'll be fine.
And then Carrie Washington, first time she's seen the floor in 2 years, and she goes out and gets you 7 points, looks good at the free throw line, and 12 rebounds.
Yeah, the 12 rebounds is huge. We know that's what she can give us. I think she can get more, but she only played 19 minutes due to foul trouble. But she's only been practicing a week. So, again, overall, there's a lot of good things to, build on, but obviously there's a lot to work on too, but it's the first game of the year with a young team.
Right back at it on Monday. You go up to Rome, take on a good shorter team that you just saw. What are the challenges they present?
2 days to prepare. I think we'll be physically tired from this game. So tomorrow will just be loosen up and walk through and kind of put the game plan together. Very experienced team, 4 starters returning for shorter, 2 of which are Division I transfers that have been there, though, now for a couple of years. They're just a really good basketball team, especially in their gym. They beat Montevallo just the other night, who's one of the better teams in our league. So a tough place to play. I had to coach there a lot when I was at Berry. Really loud, bad acoustics. And we'll just have to guard a lot of multiple actions. They'll set 3 or 4 different types of screens in one offensive possession, which is tough to guard. So we're going to have to go to the drawing board for 2 days and see if we can't get a little better defensively. They won't pressure like we saw tonight, so maybe that'll be a good thing.
It'll be a while before we see you again back in this building, but a successful start to the season. Best of luck as you move forward.
Thanks, Steve.
Head coach Jonathan Norton as we wrap things up here on Cougar Sports TV. 81-69, your final here from the Lumpkin Center in Columbus, Georgia. The Lady Cougars defeat Fort Valley State. They're 1-0 on the season.